Hi, I'm Zoe Sands. I work for Juniper Networks and I head up digital marketing and social media for Europe, Middle East and Africa. So as you can imagine, over the past 18 years I've seen a lot of evolvement of digital marketing, from basic websites through to e-commerce and content management systems, through to the rise of Google and their advertising business, and then on to demand generation from websites in a B2B context with click-to-chat. And then now with social media, which is a really exciting time for us as marketers to be involved in and utilising that channel. So for this year, for me, and my big bet as well, is social selling from a B2B perspective. This is actually what's changing the market at the moment, and it's making social more grown up in a B2B context, because you can actually show and prove that return on investment from the activities that you're doing in those social channels. So one of the things that I run in terms of content generation in my current role is guest blogging, is looking for those stories. At the end of the day, people don't recognise brands for their content anymore. They're looking for their peers, the connections out there on the social networks, in the social channels, in communities, and they're more likely to believe content that actually comes from their peer or within their circle of influence than they are from a brand. So it's important that you utilise and tap into that network and understand what your customers, what your partners, what your advocates, or even people who are not customers, maybe they're just brand fans, are writing about you, and utilising that, because those are the spheres of influence. It's no longer the brand's influence in the marketplace, it's actually the power has gone to individuals. I guess there's a few tips that I can give people if they're thinking about getting involved in social selling. I think the first thing is, how receptive is the organisation to change? And how open are you for your employees to go out into the social networks and hunt and prospect for deals? It's all very well saying that you want to do social selling, but if you have it locked down in your organisation and you block Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter in the business hours, that's going to prevent you from doing social selling. So you need to have an open approach is the first step. The second step is like managing change in the organisation. This is a new way of selling. It's not about marketing now prospecting for sales. It's actually now sales becoming the prospectors themselves and working with marketing on the prospecting. So it's a new way of skill sets for those salespeople. So they need to be involved in sort of change management. And as part of that, you need to develop a training program so that people are comfortable with that. And then, of course, developing out appropriate pieces of content, because you're not going to be able to develop an engine or nurture relationships or target people if you don't actually have those pieces of content that's going to strike interest. So social selling is not about taking the cold calling and then going and pushing people's messages through the social channels and saying, hey, let's speak. It's about adding value, building your trusted advisor status and building your sphere of influence so that you can join into those conversations, build trust and then nurture those relationships. What would I change about the digital profession? That's a really interesting question. Actually, what I would say to people, think about the customer. Don't get carried away with technologies. It's very, very easy with all of these startups and all tech organisations developing all the latest next gadgets and tools that you should be using. But at the end of the day, you need to think about your prospects and your customers and what they actually want and turn it on its head, rather than thinking about the latest and greatest thing that's been invented at the moment. And I would always say, put the customer first.